welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I'm really excited to bring one of my Dotties to the fore today, the lovely Fran Excell. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, I'm excited to be here.
Me too. I'm very excited, and it kind of surprises me that it's taken you this long. I'll be honest. As one of the biggest talkers in the group, I was kind of expecting you to be on the podcast like first.
You know, good things come to those who wait.
Well, this is it, and we have just had a chat about the questions. I'm very, very excited about that a bit later on. But let's talk about you from what I know of you. So for everyone who kind of listens, obviously you can't see Fran, but Fran is looking very tan. She's just come back from holiday. She's been to Walker, she's been to Granada. It's all very fancy. I'm very jealous. Not that I sound that much. But, you know, I've known you for, I want to say 6 or 7 months. We met at
November.
November 2017. So you are one of the original Youpreneur gang.
Yeah.
And I kind of rocked up to Youpreneur knowing nobody. And you came in with this huge group of people. And I was like, oh God, everyone else knows people. And, you know, we met at Youpreneur and had a really, really great time there. Obviously seeing Johnny Dumas, Chris Ducker was knocking around. Joanna Penn's talk was one of my favourites, it's got to be said. Tower. And we both kind of, you know, went to the bar, did drinking.
Wine.
Yeah. Accosted Pat Flynn. You know, and it was a great weekend. And then subsequently from there, you came to one of my events at the Ritz in February. You joined the Dotties. We just did a group intensive together, which was fab at the Langham. Still obsessed with the bathroom that we saw. You guys on the podcast, the bathroom was ridiculous. It had a roll top bath and a heated floor. I now want one. And we had a really, really good day and a good evening. I actually seem to remember that Fran and I finished our group intensive with dancing to The Lion King, a karaoke session at the Langham. I don't think that's ever been done before.
Well, and may never happen again.
No.
Next time it's Beauty and the Beast.
100% up for that. So that's, you know, that's you kind of in a nutshell as I know you, but obviously there's this other side to you, which is you are this incredible mindset expert, you know, and you have done a ton of development over the last few years and certifications coming out of your eyeballs, you know, to really help people with stuff like self-sabotage. So give us the formal bio. Who are you and what do you do?
So obviously certified mindset coach. So the main thing is I help self-sabotaging female entrepreneurs tame all those inevitable mindset gremlins so they can get out their own way and actually start taking the action to become a success. So they come to me and they're sort of feeling stuck, frustrated, not moving forward, completely sick to the back teeth of their own excuses and feeling like, and I take them to feeling sort of full of self-belief and confidence and feeling like nothing can actually hold them back anymore, knowing that they can then overcome any little fork in the road, any hurdle, any obstacle, and look at it with ease and positivity and just completely shift their mindset around from sort of being a bit of I referred to myself previously as Eeyore on a bad day. and now I'm someone that I asked my husband the other day and I said, what would you say my superpower is? And he wrote back to me and it was really lovely because he said, you can see the positive in anything, even when your back is completely against the wall. You can still push forward, you can still find the positive. And that is something that I think is so hugely important as an entrepreneur. Yes. When you're stuck in that negative loop, because that's how you've trained your brain to think, to go to that negativity first, you're going to feel like you're pushing water uphill and it is super tough and it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. You can retrain your brain, you can reframe anything that gets thrown at you, and that is the best way to go into entrepreneurship, because there are going to be forks in the road, there are going to be obstacles, there are going to be inevitable mindset gremlins like the imposter syndrome, the comparisonitis, the self-doubt, the self-loathing, the fear. All of these things will happen. They are inevitable, but they happen for everybody. You know, they always say new level, new devil, all of that sort of thing. So I'm always trying to teach my people that it doesn't matter if you're a beginner and you're feeling these things. You'll feel these things when you're up leveling, when you launch anything new, because it's an inevitable thing that happens in your brain. And when people can grasp onto that and understand that it's a part of the process, it's that much easier to deal with. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell.
I think it's really interesting because, you know, you've even got this podcast called the Positive Pants
Yes.
podcast, right? And I love that. I think that's great. I'm actually very jealous that I did not come up with a snappy name. But it's one of those things where positivity, I think, is a really underrated skill for entrepreneurs. You know, like you say, you do go through all of these kind of dark periods, and it can be really easy to click on the news feed and think, well, everyone else just has it easier. And in fact, I actually subscribe, people probably don't know this about me, but I subscribe to the Notes from the Universe from Mike Judy.
Yeah.
That is my one caveat for the woo, is that I subscribe to the Notes from the Universe. And this morning's was, you know, you might think that other people are jollier, or that their grass is greener, or that their friends are better, but the reality is you've got exactly what you need right now. And I think sometimes we underestimate that. You know, it can be really easy to fall into the cycle of everyone else has got it really easy and I don't, and that's, you know, it's just because I'm me. And the reality is sometimes we just need to do a little bit of reframing and look at where we actually want to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. And sometimes you can get stuck in that loop of looking at someone saying, oh, they've got what I want. But actually the reality is you don't want to do what they did to get there. Yeah. So you have to start reframing that in your head and be really honest with yourself. I'm always saying all change happens from awareness. You've got to be really aware and really honest with yourself about what you want and how you want to get there. What's your non-negotiable that you will and won't do? You know, you need to know these things. But positivity, so many people sort of frame of the power of positive thinking and think, oh God, roll your eyes sort of thing. But in one of my recent posts, I was like, do I believe that you need to be positive all the time? No, I don't. I believe that you need to reframe negative situations to a positive and have the ability and the tools in your toolkit to be able to do that. But I also believe that you should listen to your negative emotions. Yeah. Because they can tell you a heck of a lot. Who are you jealous of? What are you getting wound up by? And it tells you so much about your values and where you're out of alignment and all of these different things. And when it comes to the woo, you know how I like to defluff that woo.
Fran loves the woo.
But I love the angle that I take in. I tend to attract a lot of people who are really super intrigued by that stuff. And they're like, there must be something in it. Because there's so many people talking about it in different ways, but it comes back to the same thing. So there must be something in it. But I just cannot get on board with that woo. So I help with the science behind it and sort of the reason that it works and what goes on in your brain. Because majority of it is completely real, but it's all about how you frame it. And I frame it in a slightly more scientific, what's going on in your brain, why does it work kind of a way. And then people are actually on board and start taking the action.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to pull you back there to a point that you made about, you know, wanting what other people have, but not being willing to do what they did to get there. That's always a really interesting one for me, because there are a ton of people online who believe that they're doing the work. Yeah. And the reality is once they actually start doing the work, and somebody said this in a group program that I'm leading at the moment, I thought I was doing the work. Now I'm actually doing the work. It's become really clear that before I was just kind of doing things. And that's really, really interesting. But it is that kind of mentality. And how can people kind of get past that? Because there is this element of, I think, you know, with social media, with especially Instagram, everyone looks perfect on Instagram. You know, it must be filters or something. But you know, people do have this tendency to go, well, everyone else has got it easier than me. And the reason that they can do the work or whatever is because they've got more money, they've got more time, they've got more this, they've got more that. How can we actually show people properly, look, you know, if you want to get to point X, actually your job is to do these things. Are you willing or are you not? You know, is it as simple as saying it, or do we have to do something with people's brains to make them think about that?
Yes. The short answer. Yeah, I mean, a huge amount of it is excuse. I mentioned earlier, I'm always dealing with people's excuses to themselves. And you deal with your own all the time as an entrepreneur. You're like, oh, well, hang on a minute. Do I really think this, or am I making an excuse? Because I check myself and say, is that really true? And that's one of the biggest things, because excuses are something that will get in your way. So it's one of those things where it goes back to the awareness and back to the honesty and about what you want. But also it's knowing that you don't have the full story. It's such a big thing. So Instagram perfection and all these things, like so many people in the online world don't talk about the year, 2 years of hustle that it took them to get there. People think that they got it overnight, and it's just, the fact is, it's just not true. You know, and if people are a bit more honest, like people like you and the Dotties and everyone that you've attracted, we're sort of taking a bit of a stand and saying, no, hang on a minute, you need to be a bit more honest about this. You haven't done this overnight. And you don't have the full story. That is always a reality. You will never have the full story of what they've done, their emotional breakdowns. It's very easy to look at the surface, but you've got to ask yourself the questions about what may have happened in the past, because quite often there's these people who have these huge followings, and then every so often they come along with a, you know, #vulnerable post and do this video where they're bawling their eyes out saying, you know, I'm not making any money, or this, my relationship's broken down, and everybody's looking at and going, oh, you're perfect, you're perfect, you're perfect. And the reality is they're not. Everybody has their flaws.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
I actually find that quite scary when people come out with these posts where they're like a super successful relationship coach, and then, you know, they've been for months charging people thousands and thousands, and then they suddenly go, yeah, but by the way, what I didn't tell you was that actually I've been divorced for the last 2.5 years or something. And you kind of think, holy crap, like, you know, as somebody trying to do your due diligence, that then becomes this false, should I do the stuff you're telling me to do? Should I not do the stuff you're telling me to do? So, you know, when we're talking about positivity, the thing that I like about you and what you're promoting is it's not just being endlessly, yay, everything in the world is great, I can just, you know, do the thing. Yeah. It's about really looking at, okay, what is everything telling me? How can I find the good in the situation so I can move forward and take action? But equally, let's not lose integrity around what's actually going on and the reality of life. Yeah,
absolutely. Because if you're doing things that are out of alignment, you're not going to feel positive. You're not going to feel good.
No.
And you're constantly going to, you're going to constantly feel in this sort of state of perpetual simmering anxiety. And that's not any way to live, is it? Nobody wants that.
State of simmering anxiety.
Yeah. Right. With imposter syndrome, I deal with a lot of people with this whole, am I a fraud? Well, are you?
I don't know. Are you lying?
Are you? Yeah.
But
I always say, but there's also this belief that we need to know everything about everything. And that's not the case either. There will always be people who know more than you. There will always be people who know less. You need to speak to the people who know less than you. You've got a huge gift to give. Yes, there's people who know more, and they'll deal with the people further along the line, and then one day you'll be them. But you deal with the people that you can help now.
100%. So, in the spirit of helping, question time. Hit me with your question. that sounded like that song, Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick. And I
was thinking the same thing. Hit me.
I can't remember who sings it. I think it might be GaGa, Lady Gaga.
Oh, God, no, I think it's... Who knows? Who knows?
Some kind of gangster song. Maybe Scott can put it in the show notes for us.
Thanks, Scott.
What is the cue?
Right. When you're getting people great results from your free content, and they're constantly sending you love notes going, oh my God, I've just done this amazing thing. Thank you so much for all your help. How do you then get them to pay you?
See, I really love this question because I think it happens all the time. And, you know, I wrote a post recently about you can't live on exposure. Yes. You know, so really nice when people send you testimonials and stuff. And actually, you know, as people who set up businesses, you do want to know that people are getting results from your free stuff. So I've always taken the approach that actually when people get results from my free stuff, I'm like, good for you. You are actually a self-motivated person. You are an action taker. And it means that my stuff works. Yay, that's also a bonus. The other side to it is thinking about, okay, what's next for that person? Because sometimes what will happen, particularly if you start building an audience of action takers, they will go away and do the work. You know, and I was saying to you earlier, I get people who listen to this podcast and then they send me emails or they send me Facebook messages and go, Jess, I made 5K off of an idea that I got from your podcast. I'm like, yay, that's awesome. And then my question is always, what's next? Yeah. Because it's not just about making that 5K that one time. It's about, okay, well, how do we make sure that you do that consistently? How do we make sure that you keep taking action? Because I know, you know, when I made my first 5K, I was like, great, I'm going to go shopping. and just blew it, and then was like, oh crap, I have no money. You know, so it was like, I've made 5k, but I have no idea really to how to kind of consistently keep myself accountable to do that every week. You know, and that's where it starts to become great that you got that with the free content. Imagine what you could get with the paid content. And one of the things that I always say on webinars is, look, some of you are going to go away, you're going to implement this, you're going to get great results with this piece of free content. And I've always aimed for my free content to be just as good as my paid content, because otherwise why put it out? Like, you know, if it's someone's first point of contact with you and it's crap, they're never going to come back. If someone gets tons of results from your free content, the best thing that they can do is step up and invest with you. Because if they can do one thing or get one result from not paying you and just following something that you've given them that isn't tailored to them, you know, that isn't bespoke, that isn't keeping them accountable every week, imagine the kind of results that they could get if they were having you in their back pocket. You know, imagine the exponential increase in income, or the exponential increase in visibility, or the exponential you know, way that they would be showing up and expanding their business or their life or their relationship or all that kind of stuff. And so I think whilst it can be initially a little bit galling, let's say, so everyone on the podcast is kind of like, Jess, people can send me love notes all day long, but that's not paying my mortgage. And I get that. I'm exactly the same, right? Not that I don't appreciate them at all, she says hastily. Like, send more on iTunes, review this stuff.
Review.
But it is that kind of thing where, you know, we should always be asking people who've got good results, okay, that's awesome. What's your next plan? And if it's something you can help them with, great. Like, tell them, actually, if you want to keep building your list, I can help you do that. Or if you've built your list off of my free content, I can help you monetize it. Or, you know, if it's a case of you found one positive thing in your day every single day from, you know, last Monday to now, awesome. Imagine what it'd be like to be able to actually harness your brain to not just find one positive thing, but to actually wake up feeling really good and then seeing a flow of real positive things moving into your life. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
More about follow-on process.
Yeah, I think it's been one of those, like, you're getting the love notes and or you've had the discovery call and you know, get all the results on the discovery call, and then they're like, oh, okay, I'll come back to you as soon as I've got the money. And then they go and do the work on what you've talked about, and when you've tried really hard not to coach, all that sort of stuff, and then they're like, I don't need you anymore, my life's great. Yeah, okay, awesome. Win, because it's brilliant. But
this is the power of the check-in and the follow-up, because people often forget this. You know, we get really disheartened. People walk away from a discovery call, they walk away with a freebie and they go, that was great, thanks very much, bye. In 2 weeks' time, when, you know, the cat's died, or their mum's had a massive argument with them, or their boss at work's been a complete pillock, or all of those kinds of things, actually things aren't fine. Yeah, exactly. And it's actually then that we lose people. Because they don't come back, because they go, yeah, but it was just a quick fix. It was a quick fix. I got a quick hit of serotonin or whatever, and now I can walk away. And that's when you should be checking in with people who walk away from discovery calls or who walk away from free stuff, who go, yeah, that was awesome, thanks very much, I'm great. Go, okay, cool. I'm just going to check in with you in a couple of weeks' time, because love that you've had the result. But sometimes I know that, you know, this kind of thing can take a little bit longer to fix. So you call if I just follow up with you on a Facebook message or on an email or on a call in a couple of weeks, just to make sure you're maintaining this feeling that you've got now. Because 9 times out of 10, people will be like, yeah, definitely follow up. I'm going to be great, da-da-da. And when you do, they're like, yeah, actually, after about 2 days, that feeling went and I'm back here. And that's when you say, okay, so, you know, whatever we've discussed, the paid option, that's why we encourage people to take that, because obviously when you do have that initial yay, that's awesome, it can be, if you don't have anyone to troubleshoot it or keep you accountable or anything like that, it can be really, really difficult to maintain that for a long period of time. And that's what you're looking for, is that long lasting change, not just every 3 months to have a quick hit and be like, yay, things are great.
Yeah, because it's all about doing that groundwork, and this is what I try and say to people. Your mindset stuff, that it doesn't happen overnight. You can have a great conversation, just like you're saying. You have a great conversation, have great things happen, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, back to square one, because you haven't actually trained your brain yet. Because that's what this stuff is. It's retraining your brain to think differently, and that is a long process. You can get results super, super quickly, but it's all about then maintaining those. And there will be points along the way that you come unstuck a little bit, and you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. And you need that other person to go, well, hang on a minute, remember this thing that we talked about? And you're like, oh, yeah. And that's when you need that accountability and that support to make sure that you're continuously training your brain, because it's so easy to just go back to square one, because that's the path of least resistance.
But this is it. And I think it's interesting because we see this so often in the industry, and this is a personal bugbear of mine that I was writing a Facebook post about this morning. So if you read this Facebook post, I apologize later for the recap. But so often what we see are people who struggle. So I see this a lot. People are struggling to make money as a health coach or a mindset coach or a relationship coach or whatever, coach, consultant, web designer, VA, blah, blah, blah. They go to a business coach, and the business coach says to them, do you know what? You're always going to struggle making money in this area. Why don't you be a business coach? And so the person goes, okay, great, I'm going to be a business coach. And so it clicks for them, and suddenly they're really happy, and they're a business coach, and they're going out there and they're doing the exact same marketing as their business coach. And so they pick up a couple of clients, and actually they're like, great, this is working, I'm making money. 6, 7, 8 weeks later, maybe even 6 months later, clients dry up. They're not working with their business coach anymore. Suddenly the clients they have aren't getting results because they don't know how to troubleshoot. It's this quick fix mentality that's rife in the industry. That, you know, people learn one skill. Like, for example, people could listen to one episode of this podcast and go, well, now I'm a sales coach. Well, yes, okay, you are. But in all honesty, you're never going to be the same kind of sales coach that I am, because I'm always going to have 12 more years experience, 12 more years of troubleshooting, 12 more years of proven results, 12 more years of actually making considerable income myself in multiple different industries, countries, languages. It doesn't matter. So yes, you can listen to an episode and you can go out and tout yourself as a sales coach, but you're not necessarily going to make money in that area, because that's not your long-term sustainable plan. And this is the same thing that your people are picking up with mindset is, I feel great right now. That feeling's going to stay forever and it's going to be great. And the reality is that when life happens, it probably isn't. You know, and it is that point of time where they need somebody to be like, okay, should we look at something that's bespoke for you now then? Should we look at something that's actually tailored for your life and your brain and all those kinds of things? And so I'd be really transparent about that. You know, perhaps put into your freebies and, you know, say on your discovery calls, look, the caveat to this is that this content is gold. So you can go away, you can make it work, you can get great results with it. However, sometimes you can't always maintain those results because you're not the mindset expert. And if you find that, what I'd urge you to do, instead of walking away and going, it doesn't work, is come back to me and ask the question, hey, Fran, I did the exercise, I got this result, it's 3 months later and now I'm feeling a little bit crap. What do I do? And then I can give you the honest advice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, love it. It's been bugging me. I love the love notes, don't get me wrong. I get a huge amount of love notes from the podcast and things like that, because I'm always about making it practical and actionable. You can get results from this, but the reality is you have to retrain your brain. That's not something that is easy to do on your own. So yes, you can feel good, but
I mean, at the end of the day, every behavior is learned. So, you know, when people feel like they read one book and suddenly they're Tony Robbins, you know, it's not necessarily how it works. And I think we have to be very careful, because we do work in an industry where everyone's like, oh, you don't have to be the expert. And I'm like, well, actually, you know, there are some times when you might not have to be the expert or the Oprah or the Tony Robbins or the Ellen DeGeneres or the Lewis Hales or the whoever. But when you're looking at changing something in your life or your business, you have to hire the expert. You know, you can't always just get what you need from a book, even though, you know, there are books out there that have really tried really hard to cover everything as in depth as they possibly can. It doesn't take the place of having somebody in your corner saying, okay, well, here's how we make this applicable to you. Because it's all about implementation, it's not information. Otherwise, everyone would be an entrepreneur, everyone would be a 7-figure earner, everyone would be, you know, easy pickings.
It's a tweetable right there. It's not about information.
I know.
It's all about implementation, not information. Love it.
Thought tweet dis.
Love it.
I don't know who owns this company, but really, I was like, when I was buying it, I was like, I'm way too middle class to say dis. You know, when you're like tweet.
Yeah.
And so I was like sat there and I was like, oh God, I'm just not cool enough to buy the software. But if you are ever checking out my website, it will now have tweet dis on it. And you can tweet things from the blog and things. I don't really know how it works, but it does work. And it does. So let's kind of tell everyone where they can find you then, because I know a lot of people do listen to the podcast, and a lot of people who are listeners are not necessarily as woo as the kind of usual crowd, because obviously you're following me and I'm generally not massively woo. So if they do want neurological scientific reasons for the way that they behave, you know, and some of the feelings that are coming up around self-sabotage, around visibility, fears around imposter syndrome, all that kind of stuff, where's the best place for them to find you and get in touch?
I hang out mostly in my Facebook group, Fran Excell community. So I'm in there pretty much every day. And then also come find me on the Positive Pants podcast.
I do love that name.
Yeah. It's so funny because I toyed with it for a while, and I said to my husband, because he's you know, very rational and businesslike and all this sort of thing, and I was like, I really want to call it this, and he goes, Fran, it's so you have to call it that. And I was like, yes, validation.
Yeah, what's the point in having a husband if they're not just going to agree with you anyway?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it doesn't happen that often.
No.
But yeah, it's one of those.
Oh, perfect. So if you are somebody who needs to get in touch with Fran, who needs to talk about things that are going on inside your brain and get real answers straight away, please make sure you go and check out her Facebook group and her podcast. It'll all in the show notes for you. And obviously, if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave us a little review. You know, leave the love notes on iTunes. I want those love notes, people. Make sure you leave those. They always help new people find the podcast and explain exactly what it is that they can expect from the podcast and why they should be listening regularly. I will see you in Monday's training. Have an awesome weekend.